私が女であることが理由なら、それが間違いだったと父に認めさせてやりたい。女だって、一人前の冒険家になれることを証明したい。だって私は、父の子なのだから。もし世界のどこかで父を見つけたら、母に代わって山のような文句を全部言ってやる。そう願い続けながら、私は新たな冒険の地へ旅立つ。あの時編んだ温かい手袋を持って。
Hello, welcome, Cavature. For Nier Reincarnation, let's do an interpretation of Argo's character. There's plenty to say about him, but for this video, let's stick to the thesis that he is not the main character of his story. His daughter is, and his purpose is to act as her foil. First, let's define what is a character foil. A foil is not an antagonist. It is not the adversary of the protagonist. A foil is someone who provides a contrast to another character in order to make their strengths or weaknesses or characteristics clearer, and therefore making the character more compelling. We can take Harry Potter as an example. He is the protagonist of his story. Voldemort is the antagonist, and Draco Malfoy is Harry's foil. Harry and Draco butt heads, but we can't really call them enemies. They are more like rivals. Their personalities are opposite in many ways. Draco is haughty, so that makes Harry's humility more apparent. Draco is a coward, so that makes Harry's bravery more apparent. Furthermore, they make different choices under similar circumstances. Draco does what benefits himself, while Harry does what helps others. Draco takes the easy way out, while Harry does what he believes is right, regardless of the consequences to himself. So that is what a foil is. In a second, I'll talk about how Argo does that. Before that, let's talk about how Argo's story is like a bait and switch. Argo is the playable character in-game, but as we can see from the DM and RD stories, he's not really the main character in his world. It's a bit like Sicario, one of my favorite recent films. We go through most of the film following Emily Blunt's character and seeing the narratives through her eyes, but towards the end it is revealed this was Benicio del Toro's character's story all along, and I didn't even realize it until the second time I saw it. It's a brilliant film, and I love Denis Villeneuve. But getting back to Nier Reincarnation, for what would clearly be the less popular, worse-selling character to be the playable, pullable one, is just one of the many ways this game is not your average mobile game. But that's a topic for yet another video. Argo's daughter is the more modern character. I will call her round dynamic, according to what I laid out in my E.M. Forster on Characters video, link below. While Argo is flat, but slightly dynamic, he does have an arc. It's summed up pretty neatly in his celebratory costume story, where he answers the question, what do you value most? He says, treasure, no. Nature, no. Family. The tragedy in Argo's arc is that right on the cusp of his redemption, he dies, which reminds me of a book I love, The Bridge of San Luis Rey, where a bridge collapses and sends a handful of people to their death, and a local priest investigates why they are chosen to die. But unlike a lot of common tragedies, this story gets a chance at redemption beyond death. I think a lot of people get tunnel vision on Argo. They look at his main story or part 1 of only his Dark Memory story, and condemn him eternally, say he is beyond forgiveness, beyond redemption. But who should ultimately forgive and redeem him than his own daughter?
この時初めて、私は父の思いを知った。ただ、父は愛情表現が下手だったのだ。ただ、父は不器用だったのだ。その日を境に、私の中で父の印象は変わった。私は父に愛されていたのだという自信とともに、凝り固まっていた抵抗感や嫌悪感が溶けていく。
She has her own arc, but by going through hers, she also brings to a close the arc of her father, whether he realizes it or not.
俺とお前は同じだな。 男はしんみり述べて、さらに勢いよく続ける。一つの場所にとどまるなど、冒険家ではない。一瞬納得しかけた女が何か返そうとした時には、すでに男の姿はそこになかった。男がいた場所には、神々しい氷の粒がキラキラときらめいているのみ。しばし眺めていて女は悟る。霊峰に囚われていた男はようやくこの時解放され召されたのだ。無念さえかき消す豪病がごとき冒険心によって次の生につながる新天地へ一人の冒険バカは至ったのだった。
The important thing to understand about Argo is that he is a bit of a force of nature himself, beyond reasoning, beyond convincing. His wife understands this and accepts it, and eventually his daughter understands this and accepts it.
なぜ父は何度も同じことを繰り返すのか。母もなぜ父の振る舞いにいつも付き合っているのか。最初は全く理解できなかった。しかしある時、母が少女に言った。お父さん、ああいう人だから。
女は感情的な文句を言いかけそうになる。しかし、父親はいつもそうだった。今さら責めたところで何も変わらないだろう。それに、死者に心変わりされたとして、女が得ることは何もない。父はどこまでも父だ。
In my story unlock guide video, link below, I talked about how the character stories are non-essential flavor, but Argo's is interesting as it is one of the few stories told in his voice. It's a story about how he goes to town to go shopping and gets swindled, demonstrating his clumsiness with how the world works. But the last lines, I think, are the key to the story and his character. They show he does not get bogged down by things like shame, guilt, or the past.
あの露天商め、不良品ばかりではないか。くそ。だがあいにくここは雪山。外は天然の氷室だ。不幸中の幸い、氷にこと書くことはない。
The line Argo says that sets off his daughter's journey of the self, he probably only said it because he was drunk, he probably doesn't remember it, and in his heart he probably doesn't believe it, because he would know better than most that women can be adventurers. His wife was a top-tier adventurer before they were married, as is laid out in the secret stories. But getting back to how Argo is his daughter's foil, they have different reasons for adventuring. Argo does it to feel alive and for his appreciation of the beauty of nature. His daughter does it mainly for self-actualization. She is on a quest to define herself, as an adult, as a woman, as an adventurer, as her father's daughter. Argo is already fully formed. His daughter, however, is a liminal hero. She is finding herself through her journey, and when she lays down the mittens in Argo's journal at the end of the RD story, it's like she's laying down her doubts, laying down her angst. The weight of the past is off of her shoulders, and she can go forward as her own person. Other contrasts come up in how they adventure. Argo gets through with sheer will and physical strength, while his daughter relies more on cunning and what is modern technology for her time. Argo does things the hard way, she does things the smart way. When I first saw Argo's Dark Memory stories, I was shocked to see that it was being narrated by the daughter character. And then I was shocked again when we got to the return of the daughter in the RD stories, but it's narrated by her father. But it turned out to be sweet.
一方、冒険家の男の残死は少慮のあまり、先手を打って暴れ回り、どうにか狼を追い払おうとしている。 だがその踊りのように滑稽な身振り手振りはどちらの視界にも入らない。娘が目の前で食い殺されるかもしれないというのに、男がはがみしていると、ぐしゃり、雪を踏みしめる小さな音が静まり返った山に響いた。先に動いたのは群れの先駆けを務める狼。地面を蹴り大きく飛び跳ねる。女を俊敏に襲う鋭く獰猛な牙。絶叫を上げる冒険家の男。しかし次の瞬間、地面に叩きつけられていたのは狼の方だった。どうなることかと思ったが、さすが俺の娘、余裕だな。男は狼狽していたことも忘れ、誇り高く笑う。
Argo is watching his daughter conquer the mountain that conquered him, and although he is maybe unsure of her methods, he never disapproves of her methods because she gets the job done, and he never dismisses her for being a woman. He is clearly quite impressed and proud of her at every step. What matters to him is the adventuring. She proves she can do it, and so she wins his approval, of course as his daughter, but also as a fellow adventurer. Coming from Argo, that is the highest praise. But from the daughter's point of view, who is looking for some personal connection, for more of a familial feeling, it is lacking, as she points out during their interaction.
あんなに意地ばかり強かったのに、女は妙に新鮮な印象を覚えた。この様子ならば、残された家族についてのことも語ってくれるのだろうか。女はほんの少し期待するが、男はすぐに話題を変えた。これまでどんな冒険をしてきたんだ。楽しそうに聞く男。母はどうしているか、息子はどうしているか、そんなことよりも気になるのは娘の冒険記録。感動の再会になり得たはずが、最悪の形でぶち壊しにされてしまった。家庭を顧みなかったことへの謝罪の言葉の一つもないのか。他にもっと言うことがあるだろう。
Argo ultimately does not provide what she is looking for, but that is resolution in its own way. She can square it away, stop worrying about it, and then move on to her next challenge or the next phase of her life.
しかし、それをできるような人ではなかったのだろう。そういう言葉を持てる人ではなかったのだろう。その性根はしっかり自分にも宿っている。父親の真意を知った女は、自分が女だから、男だからという呪いにかかっていたこともすっかり忘れて手記を閉じた。
An interesting thought experiment is to ask, what if Argo's daughter was the playable character from the start of the game, and we only ever knew of Argo through like flashbacks and diary entries and forced spirits? Would we like Argo more or less? Would we like his daughter more or less? And another thought experiment, would Argo be more or less compelling of a character if he didn't have a daughter or any family? Would Argo's daughter be compelling if we had never heard of Argo? I think they both benefit from an interest point of view by having the other, and that shows how foil characters can enhance other characters and narratives overall. I think one of the main themes of Argo's stories is communication. Careless words can hurt, and simple words can illuminate. And in a way, Argo, his wife, and his daughter are all storytellers with their diaries. Through their stories, Argo lives on and connects to his son, and ultimately, communication is what breaks down the wall between father and child, saving the both of them. I think lately we are seeing other characters that are storytellers, so it's an interesting through line thematically. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this topic at least when it comes to Argo and his daughter. This was kind of one of the more surprising arcs to watch play out over the 3 years of the game. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.